I really like the direction things are going, but once in a while, some of the people on our own team get a little wobbly, and that's why I got to go from the deep love and affection I have for you.
God, he's coming after me about the raid.
To taking you to task, because I had a little bird. A little birdie told me that Mark Davis was actually defending the FBI's use of deadly force in this unprecedented, ridiculous, un-American raid on Mar-a-Lago, where they swooped in the middle of the night at Mar-a-Lago like he was Osama bin Laden. Now, my buddy Mark loves a flowchart. Let's do a flowchart.
Let's do. I love it.
Okay. Donald Trump had classified documents, but so did Joe Biden.
Right.
Hey, Mark, what did they do with Joe Biden?
Mike,
you think
I'm gonna stop you and suggest something. It's called.
Okay.
I think you do. I know you got your own show prep to do. It's called Listen to the Show. So
I listen to it.
So I'm actually going to provide my own very brief flowchart, and that is: was the Mar-a-Lago raid ridiculous and unjustified? Of course. In no universe do I justify the Mar-a-Lago raid, so stop it. The question is, within the realm of any kind of raid that anybody does, is there a page in the file somewhere that says if somebody points a gun at us, we get to shoot him? Yes. So as such, is the whole hit man going in to assassinate Trump, is that somewhat of an overstatement? Yes.
So now let me finish.
So now that you know my actual stance, go for
it. I know your stance. Since you shut me down as you are wont to do when you're backed into a corner, let me finish the Mike flow chart, because you didn't let me finish the flow chart.
Yeah,
there were two raids, supposedly. There were two acts of classified documents. And I mean it. This fires me up, Mark, because there is nothing they won't do to Donald Trump, and you got to see this.
Of course I see this.
So when you say there's wording, there's verbiage in a form that says this is kind of standard procedure, there is nothing standard about swooping down on Donald Trump in the middle of the night.
Of course, understand.
So guess what? What did they do with Joe Biden? Do you think there was a similar scenario with Joe Biden where they were ready to use deadly force and go to Delaware and break down his door in the middle of the night? Of course not. Well, there wasn't, Mark, but there wasn't.
The denominator is zero there because there was no raid. And that's sort of your point, which is the best point of all. And that's the double standard of how the Trump document and Biden document situations were handled.
That's why you can give them no quarter, Mark. You can't justify the FBI doing this.
Anybody, please stop just for the second time in this otherwise loving segment. Stop it.
You are, Mark.
I'm not defending the raid in any way, shape, or form, and you know it. I'm not defending the raid in any way, shape, or form.
Defending this, what Julie Kelly and others have uncovered, and we're going to have Julie on the show today because she's going to take off after this big time. I'm quoting Dan Bongino, who's executed 20 similar raids. First of all, there's nothing normal about this raid. So you're saying, well,
nobody said there is.
So you're saying
there was anything normal about the raid.
You are saying there's a normal procedure that goes with a raid like this.
That's what the FBI source said, and then I attached my own asterisk and said, careful.
Yeah, you're going to go with that? You going with the FBI source, Mark? I'll go with. I'll go with Dan Bongino.
If you'd been listening to the show,
I listened to every word, Mark.
Did you hear me attach that asterisk of I wish that FBI sources were as reliable as I'd like and need them to be when they say how normal this is?
That's why you shouldn't believe them.
I actually said these things.
You're quoting it. You're quoting the FBI source, Mark.
Yes, exactly. And then,
all right. Well, do you believe the FBI source or don't you? You're going to trust the FBI now?
I don't know. That's my whole point.
Oh, you don't know?
I don't know that we can. Exactly.
You don't know.
They
were swooping in with guns drawn at the home of a former president. And again, here's the big difference. They gave Biden 2 months. Here's what Pam Bondi said. Pam Bondi says this perfectly well. What you do is you have organizations coordinating a whole process like this. You don't go in there with guns drawn. And the use of deadly force just illustrates the absurdity of this. And I know you're not defending the raid itself, Mark. I understand. But you can't quote an FBI source as saying, well, this is what we kind of normally do. Ain't nothing normal about this crap. There's nothing they won't do. You don't believe me? Take Aaron from South Lake's words. He texted you and he texted me. I love this guy. Texts all the time. He said, I texted this to Mark as well. If they're willing to put Trump in prison for 700 years, they don't give a whit about his life. I wouldn't put anything past them. I fear for him the stronger he gets. So I'm telling you, Mark, you just
with that at all.
I just don't want to hang our hat, and we don't want to spend all day on this, but I can't wait. Well, but it's a bad take, Mark. It's a bad take, and I love you like a brother. But I mean, what's the goal in propping up an anonymous FBI source and saying, well, there's nothing really all that bad about the use of deadly force?
My crazy goal is to tell everybody what the FBI says, and then let everybody assess it like a grown-up themselves. Silly me. Crazy me. Sorry.
But I also know, and I say this with respect and deference, that you're a guy that holds up norms and standards, and you have such a big heart, and you want to give everybody the benefit of the doubt. And you want to say, hey, the FBI isn't corrupt, is what you want to say. And I do too.
And I know that I can't. And I know that I can't.
That's the heartbreaking part. They've done this to us. They've done this. They have with the weaponization of the courts, with what they've tried to do to Trump. And I'm sorry, the Mar-a-Lago raid to me is really what started the whole ball rolling for the mountains of support that Trump's getting. You know,
and was a window to how low they will go and how they will bend norms when it's Trump and do things to him that they would never do to anybody.
Exactly. And let me put you on the spot here one more time, and then we're going to move on. But I wanted to say this to you: do you, in your heart of hearts, and I'm going to ask you to bare your soul to this audience and this loving bunch of people. And hey, sometimes we agree, sometimes once in a while we disagree. But I ask you, in your heart of hearts, do you agree with me that there is nothing they won't do to stop this guy?
There is nothing that I would consider off the table when Trump hatred is driving the train. Absolutely.
Bingo.
100. It requires no hesitation from me whatsoever.
Bingo.
Absolutely.
And I think what I also maybe I've got Dan Bongino's words ringing in my ears because he's a former Secret Service agent.
Yep.
You know, these men and women are paid to take a bullet for their the person that they're guarding, that they're protecting. Yep. The idea that the FBI would have gone in, that they had medics, Mark, and they had paramedics ready to go in the event of bloodshed, that was putting Secret Service agents' lives in danger, too. Those men and women could have mistaken the polo-clad wearing FBI agents.
Yep.
They were in plain clothes, Mark. And Lord knows what could have gone sideways on that. That thing could have gone south so badly, and it just shouldn't have been there.
This is crazy. A 60-second weird pivot into book report, having mentioned Secret Service. You know, Clint Hill, the guy who climbed up on the back of the Lincoln as Kennedy's head got blown off and put Jackie back in the car. Yeah. He has. I just finished his book called Five. He wrote it 6-7 years ago, maybe more. Called Five Presidents. He served under Eisenhower, Kennedy, Johnson, Nixon, and Ford. It is an amazing book. And I'll just leave that to everybody. It's called Five Presidents, and it contains little factoids of stuff like behind-the-scenes stuff that's just amazing. And there's one that I just can't get out of my head. He's in the inaugural parade for LBJ, right? It's January 1965, right after the huge win over Goldwater. And there is LBJ in his limo in January 1965. Guess what limo that is?
The same one?
Same one where Kennedy got his head blown. I would have thought they would have hosed that thing off and put it out to pasture immediately. Nope. Budgets were tight. He's in the same limo that JFK got. So it's just amazing.
And Clint Hill, by the way, he was a broken man after Dallas. After
completely. He never completely healed. He served for another decade, but it bothered him. He's still alive, and I hope doing okay. I hope 92 or something like that. An amazing hero. Five Presidents. Incredible book.
What a story. And he did everything he could, and he'll never get those images of Jackie, the anguished Jackie Kennedy crawling off the back.
Always wish if he'd moved 1 degree different or 1 millisecond faster, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
Listen,
such is the commitment of Secret Service.
We got to pray for every single one of them, Biden included. I mean, yesterday the White House had to go into cleanup on aisle 13 mode.
I saw this.
9 corrections, Mark, to his speech. You know what astounds me about this? They had to make 9 corrections to the speech he gave to the NAACP in Detroit Sunday afternoon, right? He's reading off a teleprompter.
I know.
Those aren't his words. Now, in other words, he's changing the words, evidently, that he's got on the teleprompter, Mark. This guy is in bad shape. Yeah. There is just
finish the sentence because I'm channeling you. I feel you every day. There are two things. Two things are true at the same time. Number one, it's really hard to imagine how they sideline Biden. Number two, it's really hard to imagine how they don't sideline Biden. They're both true. I mean, getting rid of him is incredibly hard and a crazy movie script of how they would possibly do this at the convention. But by the same token, you see things like you've just described. How in the world how can the Democrat Party allow this to happen? And the Democrat Party is famous for bending and inventing rules to bring about a desired result.
I think it's all going to hinge on June 27th and the debate in Atlanta. I think this is a huge test for Biden. They're going to say, hey, can he do it? Can he hold it together? Or is this the coup de grace where we got to bring in Gavin Newsom? Incidentally, we're packing up Team Gallagher and headed to Atlanta. We're going to be providing all kinds of coverage. So I think we're going to be. I think we're going to the venue itself and all that. So we'll keep you posted on all that.
Final 60 seconds on the debate. You ready?
Yes,
2 words.
Ready? Yeah.
Drug test.
Why? Well, I thought you were going to say RFK.
No,
I mean,
well, yeah. Okay, I did a Twitter poll of how should RFK Jr. be on stage for at least one debate, and it was like 70-30 yes, and I kind of agree. Don't you kind of agree?
Yeah, I can go back and forth on that, but what I do agree
on.
But
are you seeing it on the merits, or are you thinking does he hurt Trump or Biden more? I totally think he takes a bigger bite out of Biden.
He hurts Biden. I mean, this guy's a far leftist. If you're, Democrats who are fed up with it, believe me, Democrats are livid at the Biden candidacy. I'm telling you, I've talked to a number of friends of mine who are registered Democrats. They can't believe they've got him propped up.
And have you seen Carville? Have you seen Carville does a crazy, man, give me a sandwich. We're going crazy. Things going to hell in a handbasket.
Carville,
We can't even do this.
Bill Maher, all of them.
But drug test, 30 seconds. Trump is saying, I will do a drug test. Biden should do a drug test. First of all, it will never happen.
Never happen.
But I think it's pretty sweet optics for Trump to do it. Say, I open both my arms. Here's my veins. Do it. Do whatever you want to do.
Did you see the video with Biden with his eyes? He doesn't blink for the whole time that he does the video? We've sent this video. If your listeners want to see it, you text the keyword drugged to 800-655-MIKE.
That cannot be real.
But they're all no, it's true. They're all saying it. Even Nora, or what's her name, Margaret Brennan at CBS said that looks like AI. He does not blink. His eyes are. Remember the Clockwork Orange when the guy's eyes were propped open? It's the same thing, Mark. So if you text drugged to 800-655-6453, drugged, that's the keyword, or drug, DRUGGED. We'll send you back the clip. And you'll see it. It's wild. And Mark, can I conclude by asking you, do you know how much I love you? Do you know how much I love you? Even when we disagree a little bit. Thank you again for.
You know what the great thing? Is about a whole lot of Mark and Mike disagreements? I think we need to go back and find some of them where you got the loudest. We didn't ultimately even remotely disagree as much as you apparently think we do. It adds to the charm.
I know. I know. Hey, I'm an emotional guy. It's Wednesday.
That's why we love you.
I love you. All right. See you tomorrow.